Magandang umaga, Pilipinas! Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining around the world. Welcome to today's webinar where we will try to solve vulnerabilities to climate change, technologies for climate resilient agriculture. We are streaming to you live through the SEARCA online learning and virtual engagements or SOLVE platform via Zoom and Facebook Live. My name is Jean Labios, and I am a program specialist of the Training for Development Unit under the Education and Collective Learning Department of SEARCA. I will be your moderator for this morning's webinar. The short video shown earlier has given you a glimpse about SEARCA and what we do. SEARCA is hosted by the Philippine government in the campus of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. So we are coming to you live from Los Baños, Laguna, the special science and nature city of the Philippines. This SOLVE webinar is SEARCA's immediate response to the emerging impacts of the COVID-19 global pandemic on food security by maximizing the use of information and communication technology platforms to inform, educate, and share evidence-based solutions and tested technologies, as well as best practices on the ground. If you are new to this webinar, this is actually the 28th webinar since it was launched last April 28, 2020. So that's a year ago. Today, we will be joined by two experts who will share their insights on the potentials of technology that promote a climate-resilient agriculture. SEARCA's 11th five-year plan, which was launched in July 2020, identifies enhanced agriculture and rural development towards climate resilience as one of the priority areas that would accelerate transformation through agricultural innovation. Before we proceed to our online conversation this morning, please allow me to quickly go over some statistics gathered from the SOLVE webinar held on April 14, 2021. The infograph shows that 61% of our online viewers were female and the rest were male. It also indicates that more than 100 individuals tuned in via Zoom, while over 200 viewed the webinar through SEARCA's Facebook page. Lastly, we are happy to note that we've had online attendees not only from the Philippines, but also from Malaysia, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and Vietnam. Let me now go over the program flow, which is currently shown on your screen. After my introduction and a few housekeeping rules, we will first have a short message from Senator Sherwin T. Gatchalian, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Energy of the 18th Congress of the Philippines. We will then have our first speaker, Dr. Annabelle Briones, Director and Scientist 1 from the Industrial Technology Development Institute of the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST. Dr. Briones will open our discussion this morning by presenting different packaging and processing technologies for a climate-resilient supply of agricultural products. Mr. Ricardo Torres, Jr., Program Manager at the United Nations Development Program, follows with his presentation on the productive uses of renewable energy, or PURE. I know you're all excited to listen to our speakers, but let me first encourage you to send us your questions. How do you do this? For those of you who are tuned in via SEARCA's Facebook page, you may type your questions in the comments section. Kindly indicate your location now and or country of origin. If you're tuned in via Zoom, please post your questions or comments in the Q&A box, which you would find in the menu bar on your screen. Kindly indicate your location and or country of origin as well. Our SOLVE team will collate, curate, and compile those questions for me, and I will convey them to our speakers. Hopefully, we will be able to cover as many questions as we can in the time remaining. Please be clear when you are posing a question to a specific presenter or if it is a general question that anybody can respond to. We will do our best to get as many questions as possible during the open forum. Kindly refrain from posting your email address in the comments section. You can provide this information to us by responding to our evaluation form and e-certificate request. The link will be posted at the end of the webinar. Please note that this webinar will be recorded and will be made available on SEARCA's Facebook page and YouTube channel. Today's presentations will be uploaded on SEARCA's website at www.searca.org. The slides shown during the past webinars have already been posted there. For your social media posts, especially on insights or takeaways from this webinar, please use the hashtag SEARCASolve. If you have issues or are experiencing technical difficulties with the Zoom online platform, please contact us at solve@searca.org. Moving on to today's discussions, let us now listen to Senator Gatchalian's message as Chairman of the Senate Committee on Energy.
SEARCA Director Dr. Glenn Gregorio and the rest of the SEARCA family, and to all the participants of the SOLVE webinar, good morning and thank you for inviting me to be part of this event. Agricultural technology, food stability, energy security. Iba-iba man ang mga usaping ito, pero lahat sila ay konektado pagdating sa kinabukasan ng mga magsasaka at ng buong sektor ng agrikultura sa bansa. Knowing how important electricity is in agriculture, to include post-harvest facilities, ensuring continuous supply of energy, 100% electrification, and lower electricity rates are some of the main focus of the Senate Energy Committee, which I chair. The Murang Kuryente Act, which lowers electricity rates, is very significant in farming since farmers use electricity to operate machinery and equipment, light farms, and consume water for irrigation, which is usually dependent on electricity. I'm likewise pushing for the Microgrid Systems Act to provide total electrification in the country, including the underserved areas or those in the far-flung communities with no stable electricity supply. There's also an opportunity for the agricultural sector when it comes to biomass power plants, since agricultural waste can be used as feedstock for biomass plants. Sa pamamagitan ng mga aral at karanasang ibabahagi natin sa webinar na ito, hindi lamang natin mapapalawig ang ating kaalaman. Makakabuo rin tayo ng isang komunidad na tutugon sa mga hamon na may kinalaman sa supply ng mga produktong pag-agrikultura at seguridad sa pagkain. I wish everyone a productive learning experience. Thank you very much and stay safe.
Okay, thank you, Senator Gatchalian, for stressing the importance of energy security in agriculture, especially in emerging climate change. We now move on to our first speaker this morning, Dr. Annabelle Briones. She is presently Scientist 1 and Director of the Industrial Technology Development Institute of DOST. She has 37 years worth of experience in science and technology research, especially in the fields of natural products, hydrocolloids, alternative fuels, and pharmaceuticals. She holds a PhD in engineering from the Keio University in Japan. Please welcome Dr. Briones.
Thank you, Ms. Jean. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, SEARCA Director Gregorio, and officials, participants from all over the globe, good morning. Allow me to express my gratitude to the organizing committee of this event and SEARCA for giving us, ICTI, to present what the organization is and what it can do for Filipino farmers in the context of climate resiliency. So for the benefit of those unfamiliar with DOST ICTI, I will start with a brief introduction of our organization with a focus on specific groups that can assist farmers and rural entrepreneurs. This will be followed by our post-harvest and manufacturing technologies and what climate-related problems they can solve for the agriculture sector. Then I will end with a couple of stories of related partnerships and interventions with the hope that this will invite some of our attendees to engage with us. To start with, DOST ICTI, or the Industrial Technology Development Institute, has 5 research groups, each focused on a specified sector. So we are one of the R&D institute under the Department of Science and Technology. As shown in the slide, from left to right, we have chemicals and energy, environment and biotechnology, food processing, material science, and packaging technology. So for post-harvest and processing technologies, we will focus primarily on the packaging technology and the food processing divisions. All 5 of the ITDI research groups provide 5 main services. These are the contract research, consultancy, test and analysis, use of facilities, and technology transfer. Let us first discuss what is contract research. This is the provision of expertise and access to facilities to farmers who want to develop their crops into a new product but don't have the technical expertise or the equipment to try out their idea. Contract research look at in another way, that is problem solving. So perhaps your operation has a choke point that needs creative solutions, and contract research can lead the way to that. Another is the transactional consultations are similar in the way that they both solve problems. However, consultations are shorter-term engagement for problems that can be resolved by our experts in 1 or 2 sessions. At ITDI, we also have our laboratories that provides test and analysis of samples to clients. We have the National Metrology Laboratory and Standard and Testing Division that are dedicated to providing laboratory services to the industry. These are valuable services in fields that have the strict product and or processing standards. Next is the use of facilities or rentals. Our pilot plants are open for private individuals to use through rentals. And lastly, our technologies resulting from in-house research are offered to private entities for use in business and manufacturing through various technology transfer modes, such as training and licensing. Having said that, let me move on to what we have at ITDI. Our technologies deals with post-harvest processes up to manufacturing. Some of these technologies address climate resilience primarily through the preservation, storage, and transportation of supplies during times of oversupply to sustain the community through times of scarcity. Additionally, these technologies add value to our raw materials. This means additional income for adapters compared to selling raw materials as is and wholesale. Through the Packaging Technology Division, headed by Ms. Daisy Tanya Franca, ITDI partnered with JICA to develop modified atmosphere packaging, or the MAP, for several agricultural products. A long-term benefit of improving packaging and storage is price stability. With the commodity supplies no longer being dependent on peak harvest seasons, consumers will benefit from having more or less the same price all year round. So one example is frozen durian. Durian is a high-value crops in some countries such as China, where it competed among the top 4 imported fruits in 2020. It is also imported by countries like Vietnam, Singapore, and Hong Kong. However, due to the niche market of the fruit, even among Filipinos, strictly local sales leads to surpluses. As you know, in agriculture, often the surpluses lead to waste. This technology enables farmers to store their products for longer periods, and consumers will be allowed to carry their durian wherever without the risk of spreading its unique aroma in public places. The modified atmosphere packaging was also used on 7 other produce like the mangosteen, sweet potato, cauliflower, broccoli, and even smoked fish. Not only is shelf life extended, but the modified atmosphere packaging also provides additional protection during transit compared to traditional methods. The cut flowers industry is a smaller market compared to the food industry, but it is lucrative in its own right. It is also seen as a continuously growing market Using the modified atmosphere packaging, ITDI has also developed packaging that increases average freshness and vase life from 5 to 6 days to nearly a month at room temperature. It has been pilot tested with a group of flower farmers in Benguet for chrysanthemums and roses. Here are a few comparative shots of products using the modified atmosphere packaging or the MAP compared to exposed products. During the test on the MAP for Baguio's broccoli, the technology contributed to the reduction of damage during transport as well. Now let's go to our technologies on the rice-based products. Rice is a staple food in the Philippines and the rest of Asia, but with the Philippines being a net importer of rice, one chance of making locally grown rice competitive is through novel products. We have some products based on rice. Some of these were developed under the Pack of Hope trademark as a disaster relief food. The Pack of Hope line is characterized by its convenient packaging, carefully designed for its lightweight, durable, and easy to open qualities. The chicken arroz caldo, or the ready-to-eat arroz caldo, is comfort food made of rice, chicken, garlic, onion, and ginger. It is designed to be deployed as a first stage relief food. This means that there is no need for cooking or heating, and it can be eaten without water or drinkables. Also under the Pack of Hope trademark is the ready-to-eat smoked fish meal. It has rice as a base and tinapa as a viand. It was developed as a second stage disaster or relief food, which means this technology can be consumed without requiring any preparation, but will require water as an accompanying drink. ITDI also developed a stable suman that is individually packed for convenience. Inspired by the pastil of our Muslim brothers, this one has an arroz a la cubana filling from ground beef cooked in tomato sauce with green peas and fried banana. It is a complete meal in a one convenient package. Our packaging technology division is also open for packaging development. So you can browse the website of ITDI and you can see the packaging technology division services. It is a multidisciplinary staff that can address concerns both on how it looks and on how it protects your product. ITDI is primarily focused also on processing. We have developed processes and products specifically with the Filipino manufacturer in mind. Process designing can be illustrated by our integrated fruit processing modules. One approach to a climate resilient food supply is to make the most of all harvest and leave no waste. This simple philosophy drives our integrated fruits and or vegetable modules, which we give out through training and technical assistance. The idea here is to make the most of your harvest for several reasons, such as increasing food supply and diversity and anticipating a delay in the next harvest season. We have just recently partnered with a farm in Camarines Sur, wherein we aim to incorporate virgin coconut oil with the flour, briquettes, and vinegar production in one processing facility. We also have a similar module on calamansi processing, with it resulting in ready-to-drink calamansi juice and or concentrate, dietary fiber, and pectin. We have materials on some of these livelihood technologies available for download for free. I'll show the link towards the end of my presentation. We have also been tapped by the DOST for its Smart Food Value Chain program for pipeline projects to improve post-harvest and manufacturing practices in the agricultural sector under the Smart Food Value Chain program. So this will start this year. These two projects under the Smart Food Value Chain program. One project is for the improvement of existing distribution centers and trading posts for fresh and semi-processed agricultural products. And the other is to develop mobile food processing facilities that can be transported to farms for easy access. The concept is similar to a mobile kitchen or food truck. So we are also upgrading our packaging technology facilities, and hopefully this coming July, we may be able to launch our simulation packaging and testing laboratory, as well as the green packaging laboratory. So these are service facilities intended to accelerate packaging technology in the Philippines. It will also be open to MSMEs for consultations, testing, and R&D on packaging for their products. So this is a state-of-the-art packaging laboratories with the capacity to simulate stress conditions and specializing in environment-friendly technologies. In terms of relevant partnerships, I will highlight two. The first is with the 17 DOST regional offices and their selected host state university or college for the establishment of the Food Innovation Centers, or the FICs. The second is more recent with the Department of Agriculture, NFRDI, for the improvement of their common service facilities. So the DOST's objectives in setting up the Regional Food Innovation Centers, or FIC, is to enable entrepreneurs with easier access to raw agricultural materials to develop new products through the help of our experts in the SUCs and the DOST food processing equipment. As I have discussed a while ago, we have our also food innovation centers. And aside from the DOST 17 regions, with the partner SUCs, we also have in ITDI a Food Innovation Center, or what we call the mother center for all the centers that are established all over the Philippines. No? And for the NCR, we have at the UP Diliman. The project ended in 2017, but these food innovation centers operate to this day. So they are driven by the vision of turning concepts into products. For now, common to these FICs are the freeze dryer, vacuum fryer, spray dryer, water retort, and we also have the cabinet dryer. So if you notice, these FICs are located in all 17 regions of the Philippines. No, with this four food processing equipment. So eventually, these facilities will gain more technologies for the benefit of our food growers in the provinces. So this year, DOST is also strengthening the food innovation centers further through several support projects. So we are currently implementing three projects to support these food innovation centers that are being established. So in the agriculture sector, we have just recently provided the Department of Agriculture's the National Fisheries Research and Development Institute a 3-day training on the establishment and operation of common service facilities. So interestingly, our focus this time was on packaging, and also delivery of services. So they approach ITDI to learn about how DOST operates, manages similar facilities, and ITDI then implemented a special training program for the group where they were joined by the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. So we also shared with the National Fisheries Research Development Institute the DOST's business models and practices in operating facilities similar to their common shared facilities. So these are the TBIs, or the Technology Business Incubators, our food innovation centers, and the common service facilities that we set up with the local governments. So the NFRDI facilities provide farmers access to facilities that will help them add value to their products. So one example is a seafood processing facility in Dagupan, Pangasinan. So in relation to climate, NFRDI facilities often operate following the same concepts of shelf life extension and improved storage for the easily perishable aquaculture products. On February 18, 2021, we have just recently launched also our new facility. This is the modular multi-industry center, or INUHub sa Pinas. It is a core research and development facility of ITDI for advanced scaled-up researches on food, nutraceuticals, personal care products using byproducts or waste materials such as peels, pulps, and seeds. So its unique feature is the adjustable modules, which are interchangeable to adapt to different products and processes. So we can use this facility for scaled up trials of technologies available at ITDI or developed by the client. So this is open to everybody. And I encourage everyone to come and visit this facility at Bikutan, Taguig City. So climate resiliency also requires that we are smart about the waste we generate and how we dispose them. So waste analysis and characterization study, or WACS, enables communities to develop smart waste management plans specific to their needs. So we at ITDI have trained rural communities in performing WACS as well. One example, in 2019, ITDI trained San Fernando La Union barangays on WACS. And with their amount of trust, they have since started looking into setting up a waste to energy conversion facility. WACS is conducted to determine the composition and volume of solid waste generated by households and non-household generators, providing invaluable data for the preparation of the local government units for their 10-year solid waste management plan, and also in determining the suitable technology for subsequent waste recovery and diversion. So the training duration is 3 days for face-to-face, and then for online, 2 days. So to learn more about our offerings, so you may see this link, and also at YouTube, DOST ITDI channel for the livelihood series, and our videos for livelihood technologies. So if you wish to know more about our technologies, services, and projects, I'm ending with my presentation, my contact details, and links to our online resources. So feel free to write us or call us after this program. And once restrictions are lifted, we would also appreciate having you as guests. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Briones. for sharing with us the different post-harvest and manufacturing technologies available and brought about by the Industrial Technology Development Institute of DOST. Mr. Dick, are you ready po? Let me just introduce you. Mr. Ricardo Torres has worked with civil society organizations in the field of social enterprise and development financing in the last 25 years. He served as technical coordinator for the People Survival Fund, a climate change adaptation fund with the Climate Change Commission. Currently, he is managing a climate change mitigation project or the development for renewable energy applications, mainstreaming and market sustainability, or DREAMS project of the Department of Energy, Renewable Energy Management Bureau, the United Nations Development Program, and the Global Environment Facility. He is a part-time lecturer in environmental economics and research prior to the health pandemic. Sir Rick?
So good morning everyone. Magandang umaga po sa lahat. As mentioned, thank you for inviting the Project Management Unit, DOE, and Renewable Energy Management Bureau to this webinar. I'll be focusing on the topic of energy as a prime mover of economic growth. And I'd like to start with a presentation on the status of energization in the country. As mentioned by Senator Win kanina this morning, energy is one contributor to agricultural and rural development. However, please allow me to focus on some policy issues related to rural electrification, the National Renewable Energy Law, and how it will impact on the livelihood of communities, especially those located in off-grid areas, which are, as we know, are composed mostly of farmers and fisher folks. You'll be encountering common word, particularly electric cooperatives. These are organizations that distributes power in the community. Big show, I'll explain that later. The National Renewable Energy Plan, and as mentioned by the host, I'll be providing examples on productive uses of renewable energy. The objective of the webinar, as mentioned, is to share experiences, but for this section, what I would like to share with you are innovations in policies and institutions which are relevant for ARD. When it comes to technologies and innovations, I'll focus on examples related to the productive use of renewable energy. And as mentioned, we'd like to mention how we can build a community of practitioners related to the Big Show. Big Show refers to the RE technologies. BI means big, biomass, and biogas, G for geothermal, S for solar, H for hydro, O for ocean, and W is for wind. Let me bring you back to 1960. As early as 1960, the Philippine government has already identified the relationship between energy and agricultural and industrial development. Now, it is a common policy or common statement in all policies that power is related to development. It's now important to see how this policy declaration is actually being implemented. Let me bring you to a point in 1969. When the policy statement about total electrification was made, it was amended in 1969, which calls for total electrification, again, as mentioned by Senator Win, and a presidential decree, which was declared by the government then, calling for the establishment of electric cooperatives that will support agricultural and rural development. If we talk of agricultural and rural development, we almost think of fisher folks cooperative or farmers cooperative, but there is this section which mentioned the importance of electric cooperative. Now, through the years, in about 60 years, several policies and several legislations were passed, which are all important when it comes to pushing or pulling back innovations in agriculture and rural development. I'd like to call your attention on 1997 when the Agricultural Fisheries and Modernization Act was passed, and then followed by a restructuring of the energy law through EPIRA in 2001, and the focus of my discussion, the Renewable Energy Law in 2008, and finally bringing you back to the National Renewable Energy Program, which is relevant for a discussion on RE and ARD. Look at the timeline below. In 1970, when the Philippines had about 38 million in population, there were only 2 electric cooperatives, and about 20% of the total population have been electrified. And most of these are in urban areas. By 1990, the target was to reach 90% in electrification. But then by 2011, because of population growth, electrification was down to 80. But still, the Department of Energy is targeting a total electrification by 2022 of 110 million in population. You would see that in a period of more than of almost 50 years, the transition from 80% to having only 20% which has been electrified is very, very challenging. There is hope, however, because if you would notice, from only 2 electric cooperatives that will support rural modernization, we now have 1,121 electric cooperatives in different parts of the country. But in the last 50 years, as I mentioned, 100% electrification has been a moving target, and rural electrification has been very challenging. And at the forefront of the challenge are rural electric cooperatives. You can see the figure that among all of the populations that are being served, almost 60% of the total households are served by rural electric cooperatives. And this is where our fisher folks and our farmers are located. They're being served by rural electric cooperatives when it comes to their power requirement. But what is the electrification status now? On a general perspective, these are official data from the Department of Energy, we have about 91% electrification level in 2016 based on 2015 data. But if you would look at the 2019 data of the National Electrification Administration, which is in charge of rural electrification through the cooperatives, we are already at 97 or about 98% electrification. This looks like a very promising number, but if you would ask, where are the 3% located? Where can we find the 3% of households who have not yet benefited from electrification? Clearly, the answer is that this would be located in areas, particularly in the Philippines, which are in off-grid communities. Because the power system in the Philippines, electric power is composed of communities which are on the grid and which are off-grid, which means they are not connected to the main power backbone. You can see that the one with a different color, I think that's green. I'm sorry, I have difficulty with color. So the challenge for agricultural rural development will be in off-grid areas where currently you have functioning electric cooperatives but are technologically and physically challenged because of the absence of grid connection. Let me talk about grid connection. So as I mentioned, the challenge in the Philippines when it comes to rural electrification is geography and grid infrastructure, or yung mga availability of posts, power line, transmission lines that will connect one community to another. Just look at the map. It's not a very good map. I'm sorry, but you can see that the orange line represent areas which are not yet grid connected but has to be grid connected. Notice too that in many areas, the island communities will never be connected to the grid. And we all know that poverty is is much higher in island communities and even farming areas or even coconut farming communities. So we would like to see grid connection within the next maybe another 10 years. But this is very crucial in attaining agricultural and rural development. And so in areas where the communities will not be connected to the grid, where does renewable energy come in? This is supported by the Renewable Energy Act of 2008. As I mentioned, the Big Show, it's a very good acronym, very, very timely. Renewable energy would be really a big show. The Big Show will push for the development of renewable energy resources. For instance, in upland areas, hydro facilities, or in other areas, solar areas which are possible for solar energy. But the third bullet, adoption of clean energy to mitigate the effect of climate change, is what is being mentioned as one of the policy direction of SEARCA. So let me talk briefly. So we have the Renewable Energy Law, which mandates the creation of a national renewable energy program. The first NREP, as we call it, is from 2011 to 2030. It calls for tripling the capacity of energy coming from the RE sources, coming from the Big Show. To date, as of 2020, we're still short, or we haven't reached a target yet of 2030. However, the Department of Energy started looking into the target already and projecting up to 2040, because what currently our renewable energy mix is only at 21%. And if we're targeting 35%, there's a lot of things to be done. Again, the renewable energy will be very important in areas which will not be connected to the grid. So in terms of goals and objectives, the policy objective is energy security, meaning that all communities will not have only electricity, but it will be available 24/7. And in times of calamity or during climate change, then it will be able to be resilient to climate changes. Sustainable development is, of course, with another goal of ARD, but all of these goals and objectives only demonstrate that the objectives of renewable energy is very, very closely related to ARD. But then it also has challenges. There are challenges on communities which are located on the grid, but there are bigger challenges also when it comes to conditions related to renewable energy. As I mentioned, let's focus on grid interconnection and exposure to climate-related risk. I'll talk in detail about that. There are several program support strategies identified in the NREP of 2020 to 2040. And many of these, I think, are relevant to agriculture and rural development. For instance, there is already a partnership between the Department of Energy and the agricultural and fisheries sector in the use of renewable energy. Later, I'll be providing example on the productive uses of renewable energy, and also the creation of support facility or innovative financing instruments. And very important, as I mentioned in the beginning, is the importance of integrating renewable energy planning into our policy and executive and legislative agenda. So let me move on now. So this is the partnership developed by DOE and DA to boost countries' energy and food security. We understand that there is still a lot of discussion about, especially when it comes to solar energy, about the stress being experienced. Do we use land for solar energy or should it be for food production? Well, this type of stress in program implementations are very natural. Right now, our project, the Development for Renewable Energy Applications project, is working with Mariano Marcos State University in trying to look at ground-mounted solar in such a way that the solar facility would still be able to allow the generation of crops without hampering crop productivity. We hope to establish a net zero program with MMSU. More particular example is, which I like to really focus on as far as agricultural technology is concerned, is the productive use of renewable energy. Energy has always been associated with electrification. However, renewable energy for rural development is something that can increase income, as mentioned, build resilience, and create opportunities in some communities. There are two programs at the Department of Energy which are implementing Pure Project. One is already on its advanced stage, a European Union project. They have established a corn dryer and a corn mill which is powered by 2 kilowatt of solar and 10 kilowatt peak of batteries, which led to an incremental income of 420 a month, because now communities won't have to bring down their corn from the upland to the lowland only to be milled. We're also familiar with Abacus Spindle. This is another project which again led to a higher income in the communities. And in Pangasinan, a 2.3 kilowatt solar powered rice mill was also established. This is an example of productive uses of renewable energy, especially in areas which are not connected to the grid. Currently, our project, which I'm trying to represent, the DREAMS project, is looking at projects in Iloilo and Palawan in the fields of water desalination, seaweed drying, community cold storage, especially in fisher folk communities, and even the establishment of cold storage facilities for vaccine due to the effect of the pandemic. And in Bohol, we're looking at tourism-oriented livelihood activities. Let me share some examples. Project UNDP and DO is working on establish a support facility for renewable energy, or we call Safari, that provides technical services and goods for local endeavors. Many LGUs and even electric cooperatives are aware of technologies in renewable energy. But how to actually implement it is a different matter because RE is still an emerging technology when it comes to its proper application. So right now, what we hope to do is start small projects, 10 kilowatt, 20 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt peak projects that would benefit 120 households or some barangays to demonstrate the application of renewable energy with the hope that this small activity will be able to attract local investment and allow local government units to have the capacity to implement their own projects. We all know that local government in the Philippines are also challenged when it comes to the internal revenue allotment and in terms of generating economic activities. And so we like to demonstrate through this small facility that here's a small project that will help your communities develop its economic potentials. And as I mentioned, Safari is also intended for energy and climate resilience. Recently, we have this is one of the projects we recently approved. I think my colleague is here, Haya Rivera, also from my team. A solar-powered potable water system in GIDA areas in Goa, Camarines Sur. Water is essential if we look at it as a basic facility, but it's also essential if you would like to develop some livelihood. We're also looking at solar energy solutions for off-grid islands in Pulilio, and also ongoing now is the one in Concepcion, Iloilo. These are small projects, but hopefully this would catalyze or commercialize renewable energy. Particularly, I keep on emphasizing off-grid communities. This is an example. This is being implemented by one of our partners, the One Renewable Energy Enterprises. This is a new power developer which are working with electric cooperatives. There are many power development companies that, because we're familiar with big systems, large dams, large solar energy, but there are what we call right now in the energy industry, new power producers that can work on smaller systems. Hindi po waiting shed yung nasa ibabaw, that's the solar panel. So this is a 1.2 kilowatt peak solar power with a submersible pump that can provide water for irrigation for high value crops. As I mentioned kanina, yung Goa Camarines Sur, we're establishing 10 water system units that would provide water to households in parkland communities and reduce water fetching time from 1 hour to about 15 minutes. And that's another use of solar power. Here's another one. Look at the picture very well, please. You can look at it as a solar power project, but what to me is important in the picture is that this is a farmers organization that's led by women. So renewable energy can also be one of those technologies that can be women-led. I'm not an expert on gender because one time when I was discussing this with a group of friends, they said that this is double burden. But I guess that's for a discussion. But what's important here is that women have also to be oriented on renewable energy application. Solar energy is right now not anymore rocket science. There are simple technologies to install solar energy that communities like the one being shown could effectively manage, and that would lead to a higher income, about 3,000 per month, because they can plant more during non-rainy season. This is one of our projects, the UNDP and DOE. We're expanding the solar PV in Pamilacan, Bohol. This is an island community. This is the one that are mentioned. Hopefully, if we can expand the facility, there will be potential for water desalination and, of course, support to livelihood activities. Pamilacan is a tourist area. We're also doing one in Pulilio Island. We're looking at about 250 households to supply them with at least 600 watt or at least 1 kilowatt peak if we can expand. But please notice that the focus would be on productive appliances. Again, in communities like coastal communities, refrigeration is very important, just like what the picture is showing. And then not only hydro, but microhydro. Microhydro facilities are not new when it comes to renewable energy. There are more than 60 microhydro facilities all over the country, which are managed either by the local government unit or barangay power associations. Why are microhydro important in renewable energy? Number one, these are really off-grid areas. They will never be reached by the power grid, and it serves to protect the natural environment because it encourages people to protect the environment so that water will always be available to run their small microhydro. 5 kilowatt, even 3 kilowatt peak will be enough to run and provide electricity to a 50-member household community. So we've developed a micro hydropower plant guide. Again, my colleague is working on this so that local government units will be able to support these small activities included in their budget and provide support to rural development, particularly in upland areas. But then we also have to look at a bigger level, not only small project and in small communities. Energy it requires sometimes scale to be able to be viable. On your screen right now is a group of communities in Iloilo. On the upper portion, the red circle on top is called Gigantes Island. We have been working on this, doing assessment. We're not yet successful in installing a facility, but this is an island that was hit by Haiyan when the typhoon came. And their first problem was availability of electricity. If you look at the economics, this is powered by a diesel power plant of about 600 watt peak. These communities are paying anywhere from 11 to 12 pesos per kilowatt hour, similar to what we're paying here in Metro Manila. But they only get anywhere from 6 to 10 hours of electricity, compared to people in urban areas who are paying less and having 24-hour of electricity. So we would see that in off-grid areas where agricultural development is needed, this is in areas where energy sometimes is expensive because diesel, which contributes to climate change, greenhouse gas emission, is the number one power supplier. So in these areas, it's very important to look at hybridization or use of solar. Solar is you need about 1 hectare for every 1 megawatt, which can power the community. Solar is most appropriate in island communities due to the absence of facilities for hydro. But what I'd like to emphasize in this model is that when you're dealing with renewable energy, small systems require big partnerships. You need the electric cooperative. You need the National Power Corporation who owns the diesel facilities. You need the local government unit to support it. You need the local association to collect the tariffs. You need private business to come in and connect to the grid and pay their dues. You need new power producers like One Renewable Energy Corporation who are willing to work in these areas with profit levels lower than commercial scale. And we need international or investors or donors with a patient capital or with zero profit interest to get things started with the objective of encouraging LGUs to come into renewable energy. If you would look at the province of Iloilo, you would see that of this area, the energization rate at the macro perspective is 88%. But if you look at the small islands on the right side, electrification rate would go as low as 50%. That means half of the households are not connected to the electricity, and that means a lot when it comes to economic development. And finally, to be able to do that kind of partnership at one level is we really would like to encourage local government units to look into a department circular by DILG and DOE encouraging the inclusion of energy planning in all local government units. In our consultation with local government units, we normally inquire, do you have a livelihood committee? Yes, you have. Do you have an elderly committee? Yes, they have. An education committee, a health and sanitation committee, a disaster committee. They have all kinds of committees. But try to throw the question, do you have an energy committee that would provide power, it would provide energy, that would provide economic development? Seldom would you find an answer that they have an energy committee. But in Palawan, they do have an energy committee that has been established. And in Iloilo, we're helping the province now to develop an integrated renewable energy plan because Iloilo is still has many islands which are located in off-grid areas. And of course, Lanao del Sur, which is part of BARM, we're helping them also in local renewable energy planning so that renewable energy, climate change, and climate mitigation will be part of the executive and legislative agenda. These are very challenging because local governments also would have to be oriented on renewable energy. Let me end with this small slide. I just got this from NEA. It was only about a week ago. They had connected the 14 million consumer, that means connected to the post, a Bajau community, a labandera, and a porter and laborer. So imagine what would that do to a labandera. Probably she'll start imagining having her own washing machine. But just to show you that how important is in getting connected to the grid, and the more it will be important to connect households which are located off-grid. So back to my first slide. So what must be solved? I like the acronym of SOLVE. Congratulations to SEARCA. When it comes to innovations in policies and institutions, I hope we can really work together on harmonizing and localizing policies and institutional development. If we're going to, there are a lot of policies that can be put together. 9513, the RE law, 9729, the climate change, the climate People Survival Fund or Climate Act, RA 1760, the Local Government Code, 8435, which is the APMA, and then 10531, which is empowering electric cooperatives to contribute to rural development. But we do see the need for more studies on economic and social benefits of RE, but the studies should be directed towards finding the benefits and getting people to invest on new financing models, so that because investments in off-grid areas are risky. So we have to find ways of de-risking investment. And we think that the productive use of renewable energy will encourage local government to invest in these things and help communities. And similar to SEARCA, while you're developing community of practitioners, the DREAMS project is looking for RE and developing RE champions that would carry on the big show. So we hope this presentation would show how renewable energy can contribute to agriculture and rural development. Thank you very much.
Yes, Sir Rick. Thank you for sharing with us an overview of the status of energization and electrification in the country and its impact on agricultural modernization and rural development. Let us now proceed with the open forum. We have several questions in the Q&A box, and I see that some of them are already answered by Mr. Rick Torres, but we would like to have them answered live as well. There is a question here from Mr. Torres. It's from Sisima La Vega in relation to the question of Dr. Celso P. Diaz, which is about roadmaps. Rural electrification in our barangay back in Bohol was not total because it was hindered by politicians who was not winning in that particular area. What are your measures regarding this kind of issues? I know it happened not only in our barangay, but in so many other places too. Comments, Sir Rick?
Yeah, thank you for the question. A very typical, can I tag list? That the problem is very typical. Electric cooperatives and local government units do not see eye to eye because local officials see problem differently than electric cooperatives. Electric cooperatives, they also have profit-orientedness or profit objective. So if a local official recommend an area to be electrified, but it would cost more than 3 million to put a post, there would be really some problems. So what we encourage is for the electric cooperative and the local government to work together. Number one, the electric cooperative has a total electrification master plan. Sometimes the local government does not know what the electric cooperative is doing, and the electric cooperative naman is not working closely with the LGU. The problem will not be solved if the two will not work together, because electric cooperatives are what we call franchise holders. They're the only one who can distribute electricity in that area, and they know the situation very well. In Palawan, we had a good experience. The Palawan Electric Cooperative and the provincial government, they aligned their CBMS data with the total electrification master plan, and you can see really the misalignment. And so what we're able to do with some municipalities is to make sure that the information of the LGU and the electric cooperative matches and that they agree. Once it matches, the second step is to agree which areas will be prioritized. That's the only solution that we see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Torres. Our next question is for Dr. Briones. How can we encourage farmers to approach ITDI, like through the food innovation centers or FICs in the region? Some might be too intimidated to approach ITDI.
Ah, as I have mentioned, thank you for that question, no, Ms. Jean. And as I have mentioned in my presentation, that there are food innovation centers established at the different regions. So wag silang it won't be necessary na sa ITDI pupunta kasi nasa national office. Please visit yung pinaka-nearest nila na Provincial Science and Technology Office para sa kanilang mga needs to use the FICs, and then ang DOST regional office will be the one to link them to the partner SUCs na nandoon ang Food Innovation Center. No?
Okay,
So
thank
ganun
you.
lang, hindi kailangan sa amin pupunta kasi malayo kami. So bawat kasi region they have a Food Innovation Center, so they should coordinate with the nearest Provincial Science and Technology Office, and the regional office will link them with the partner state universities and colleges of which the food innovation centers are being established, no? So for their needs. So please don't be shy. Just contact the regional DOST offices for your needs.
Okay, Dr. Briones, in relation to that, there is a question here. If I am a farmer entrepreneur and would want to use the facilities but cannot afford grant, what can I do? Is there a grant I can apply for that will allow me support from ITDI?
ITDI does not support any financial what we call this assistance, no, but at DOST they have the set up program. So if a farmer entrepreneur, they can go to the nearest DOST regional office for their setup and startup program, wherein they provide financial assistance to this. And we also have our DOST Technology Application Promotion Institute for in terms of the assistance also for their inventions and for other needs, no? So we have that program at the UST. Not at ITDI, because ITDI is a research and development institute, so we do not have funds. And then DOST has also a Science for Change program that they can also approach the business innovation, science and technology. This is for the business group that could also avail assistance in terms of financial. So they just visit the DOST website for the Science for Change program for the BEAST, and also the Setup and the Startup program, because this is a zero interest. No, so if an entrepreneur needs a upgrading of their equipment or their product registration, or any needs in their facility, they can just go to the DOST regional office, and their proposal will be evaluated, and they will be given financial assistance.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Briones, for the clarification. So if you want financial grant or help, that's for DOST. ITDI is a research facility. Okay, our next question is for Mr. Torres, and I think this is to answer a common misconception about renewable energy. Is the Philippines ready for renewable energy? What can you say about the common perception that it is expensive and that we cannot afford it? How can we afford its implementation, especially in far-flung areas or off-grid communities?
Bago yun siguro, supportahan ko lang yung binanggit ni Ma'am Annabelle na mahalaga na yung mga magsasaka pumunta talaga at tingnan yung mga technologies na andoon sa mga DOST. Right now, Dr. Briones, we're working with Fisher kay Dr.
Yes,
Parit.
yes.
Para sa ganun kasi yung mga technology nila nag-work in small systems Ang kailangan lang dalhin natin sa off-grid, and that's what we're looking at, providing solar, running it through solar kasi they're working, especially yung mga food packaging. I think that's very, very important. Okay. So, dun sa issue ng RE is expensive, meron pong ganong dating pananaw, lalo na sa atin sa mga urban areas na mahal yung RE. Kasi kung makikita nyo, yung ating kuryente, pag tinignan nyo yung Meralco bill nyo, merong FIT charges. Ibig sabihin, may dagdag na binabayaran tayo dun sa nag-install o nag-invest dun sa renewable energy. Sa off-grid areas po, hindi po ganun kalaki kasi pababa na yung cost ng solar. Although for a small power producer, hindi pa rin talaga siya makaka-recover immediately. Kaya importante na meron tayong tinatawag na patient capital at masuportahan yung mga electric cooperatives. NEA is providing loans to electric cooperatives. Para po kami sa UNDP, yung pinuprovide namin na tulong dun sa mga in-establish naming water systems, solar-powered systems, all of these are still at grant level. Pero yung hope nga namin, the local government should come in. But on a cost-per-cost basis, yung 250 households sa Pulilio, that would cost about 21,000 per household. Pag kinumpute niyo yan, kesa nagbabayad sila ng 1,000 kung minsan sa buwan, kasi nga mahal ang diesel, in less than 2 years time, they'll be able to recover. Microhydro is cheaper. Wag lang po talaga yung mga malalaking systems. But we do agree, the prices of solar energy is already going down, particularly for solar and hydro.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Sir Rick. In relation to the discussion on far-flung and off-grid areas, and as well as the micro-hydro power plants, there are two questions here. First, thank you for discussing the potentials of renewable energy, especially to far-flung and off-grid areas. Do we have strategies in place for attracting investors? Like you mentioned earlier that usually you do this for the LGUs.
Okay. Yung andun po, yung sinusulat po nung team namin ngayon, yung National Renewable Energy Plan, at malaking portion po nun is yung generating investments. Now, there are several types of investments. For large systems like geothermal, kasi dyan, it takes 2 years bago ka makapag-bore ng hundreds of millions of dollars. So, may lugi pa. So here, that the government is trying to find ways to de-risk the investment. Doon sa mga solar at saka sa mga maliliit, you really have to work with the electric cooperatives. But there are already small systems being implemented by the Department of Energy through their household electrification program. Meron na ring mga net metering programs for off-grid areas. So the policies are being laid down, and hopefully with clearer policies, investors would come in. Kasi pag hindi maliwanag yung polisiya, hindi papasok yung investment kasi hindi sila sigurado kung kikita. So, yun po yung ginagawa ngayon.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next, you mentioned the micro-hydro power plants. Are these expensive to implement? Do we have a sample of LGUs or who are already able to implement this in upland areas?
Ay, yung pong nag-submit sa amin na application ngayon, dito po ba si Haya, yung kasama ko, yung kanilang micro-hydro power plant was established as early as the 1980s. Kaya lang nasira kasi inabot ng bagyo. Meron sa Brooks Point, Palawan, I think it cost them about 5 million. It's providing electricity already to more than 100 households. At anywhere yung itatayo po namin sa i-rehabilitate sa summer, it will be about, sabihin natin 5 to 10 million, but it will provide power to 11,000 households. So, hindi po, yung microhydro po, hindi siya masyadong expensive. Ang matagal lang doon talaga is yung pagtatayo nung dadaanan, tapos yung maayos yung community kasi tubig yan tumatakbo ang tubig, na pag nagkaroon ng disaster, maayos nila. Kaya nga, maganda yung microhydro sa upland areas because it helps in climate adaptation and not mitigation. May co-mitigation effect siya. But
Okay.
50 million, you can put a small microhydro. May mga organizations that are doing that.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Sir Rick. Our next question is for Dr. Briones. This is about MAP. There are two questions here. Is MAP expensive, and can our farmers or dealers afford this? What material are we using for this type of technology? Are we still using plastics, or do we have other materials that can be used in this technology?
Okay. Thank you for that question. Actually, the modified atmosphere packaging uses the plastic so for now. because this is just the most appropriate packaging that we could use for our fruits and vegetable. But we are not stopping with our research and development to do other packaging materials that can also be substitute to these plastics. Kasi sa ngayon, sila pa yung pinaka-appropriate talaga ng material for extending the shelf life on and protection for this. I mentioned the flowers, the vegetable, the fruits, no. So, but with our green packaging laboratory, we will be doing research on alternative materials for as packaging.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Briones. Our final question for today is actually for you again. How can we solve the problem of solid waste management if the community is not participating?
Actually, we have a Republic Act on that, 9003, and LGUs, local government units, are being mandated to do the solid waste management. And in fact, itong aming, the training that we are doing for them, the waste and characterization analysis, so that they could, the LGUs could plan for a 10-year a solid waste management. So we are really helping them for this. So hindi pwede yung community na hindi sumunod because there is a law for this, and it's up to the local government unit to implement it. So the community should follow. So they need siguro strategy on how to succeed or to implement this solid waste management law for all communities, because this is very important, no. So hindi lang for the community but personal, no, na waste reduction and cleanliness start at home. So and to the community, so they should really well, no choice, but the law should be followed. So the local barangays should implement what is really required for us, no. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Briones. That's it for our questions today. Thank you to our participants for your questions, and thank you, Sir Rick and Dr. Annabelle, for answering our questions. Before we close today, may I request both our speakers for some closing or takeaway message? Let's start with Dr. Annabelle.
Okay. First of all, I would again like to thank the SEARCA for this webinar and for the invitation and giving us the opportunity to promote DOST and the ITBI for what we had been doing. And please, I encourage everybody that who are in need of new products, new concepts, or they need livelihood technologies, please come and visit us. Not only ITDI, but the whole DOST family. We have different programs, different initiatives, and we have different technologies that we could offer to everybody. So please come and visit us, and they can also visit our website, itdi.dost.gov.ph. And they can also write to me. Thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Annabelle. Sir Rick, your turn po.
So again, maraming salamat sa SEARCA. Sa akin, it's a privilege, and I appreciate getting in touch with people from UP Los Baños or really experts when it comes to these things. And I hope, Doc Briones, matuloy po yung ating partnership with PSHERD.
Yes, please. we will work hard for it. Don't worry.
Supportahan po natin yung RE manufacturing industry.
Yes.
The more we have RE manufacturers who would produce RE materials, then the prices of RE would go down, as was mentioned by one of the participants. And to the 70 participants, maraming salamat po sa pakikinig. Sana po pag meron po kayong napulot na konti, pero yung babanggitin ko po is yung lahat po siguro tayo ay nagbabayad ng kuryente. Huwag niyo po kalilimutan, bilang tagabayad ng kuryente, maaring kayo po ay miyembro ng electric cooperative. At kung kayo po ay miyembro ng isang electric cooperative, lalo na yung mga rural electric cooperative, At may kilala kayo doon, sabihin po natin sa kanila, i-advocate po natin ang renewable energy because this is a solution for rural development. Not for you, not for your households, but for the other members of the electric cooperative. So magandang hapon po sa lahat at mag-ingat sa COVID. Totoo po ang COVID.
Okay, thank you, Sir Rick. Thank you, Dr. Briones. On behalf of SEARCA, led by our director, Dr. Glenn Gregorio, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to Dr. Briones and Mr. Torres for taking the time to join us today. It has been a pleasure to have you with us this morning. That ends our webinar, but before we close, please let us know what you think about this webinar by following the link to a quick feedback form shown on your screen. The same link will direct you to the request form for the e-certificate. Your feedback will help us improve our online learning events. Please note that we will only accommodate requests for e-certificates within 24 hours after the end of this webinar. Kindly wait for your e-certificate to be issued at least within a month, as we receive a lot of requests for e-certificates. Thank you for your understanding and patience. Please join us again for our next online conversation on May 12, 2021 at 10 o'clock in the morning. We have invited speakers who will talk about their experiences and insights on sustainable farming systems and natural resource management. Please don't miss it. Let us help one another get through this COVID-19 pandemic. We hope that as we go along, we will be able to create a community of better, bigger, and smarter farmers and farming communities. Once again, this is Jean Labios for SEARCA. Have a good day, stay healthy, stay safe, and goodbye, everyone.